Hey guys, how are you doing? It's June 22nd, and this episode of Ask the Wizard Almost Daily is all about yes, the three stories we should and shouldn't be telling. Now, in past, I think it was past shows, actually, I can't remember what I've said to who and where and when. Sure, we've talked about it in the 777 Club. The power of the power of Tori. Oh my God! Let's try that again. All right, the power of storytelling and choosing to tell a better feeling story. Writing the script, all those kind of tools is really about telling a story. And this morning, Source kind of presented to me three main and stories that we tell isn't exactly accurate because the first one we aren't actually telling the story. So there's three stories. So how about we just hop into Mr. Flipchart and go from there. So the reason I kind of look over here is because the studio light is just kind of causing a reflection on my switcher. So I might have to adjust something a bit different because I'm kind of, oh yeah, there it is. All right. So without further ado, let's jump into the topic. Okay, we're good. So this is you. Yeah, we're good. And of course, you guys, this won't be unfamiliar to you at all. Your I am, soul, spirit, higher self, pick your label, right? By the way, you guys know this, of course, by now, but I can see how many people are watching, but I can't see who you are. So if you wanted to stop in, shout out in the comments, say hi. That would be perfect. Remember, we're all in this together. As we enter this next phase, it feels like the energy is, no, I was going to say the energy is speeding up. That's probably not accurate. The momentum has been increasing. Therefore, everything is speeding up. So that's, well, actually, that's a good clarifier. Now, this does nothing to do with stories, but anyway, that's a good clarifier. Is that, I'm just listening now. So sometimes we'll feel like energy is speeding up, like things are going faster. And so it's, and often the connotation to that is like, right? Things are going so fast, energy, it's going so fast. But what I'm just kind of hearing now, and I'll have to think about this later, but what I'm hearing now is what's really happening, maybe not in all aspects, probably in more than we realize, is that momentum is picking up. And because our momentum is picking up, and you think about it, in the beginning, momentum is not your friend. Because when you change directions, and you've heard me tell these stories, but if you're going 80 mile an hour south, you want to go 80 mile an hour north, the first thing you're going to have to do is release some of that forward trajectory or momentum that's heading you south. Because if you're going 80 miles an hour south and you instantly switch and go 80 miles an hour north, that's not going to be a good thing, right? At the frequency of our thoughts, we can do that. But when that energy is vibrating at a lower frequency, where it's our five senses world, well, that's not such a good thing, right? So, but as we get working on it, we dissipate that momentum that's taking us in direction we don't want to go. Then we come almost to, it feels like a standstill or damn near. Then you turn the whole ship around. Now you start going the other direction. As you start going the other direction, you're starting to build momentum. As the momentum builds, you are going faster. Now, then again, I'm just hearing this on the fly. So it's not so much that the energy is moving faster. It's that you're moving faster because the momentum is growing and growing. So why does that matter? That's funny because this is exactly fits into what we're going to talk about today. Why does that matter? Because if we take that position where the energy and things are moving so fast, it can almost feel like we're out of balance or out of control. But if we step back and have a deeper understanding of what's happening, is our momentum is building and building and building, which we have control of, which we manage that. So I guess in a way, the difference is going down the highway 80 mile an hour with your hands off the steering wheel. Everything's going so fast. or 80 mile an hour with your hands on the steering wheel. Things are still rocking and rolling, but when you understand that you're the cause of this, things are speeding up because you're speeding up, then I think it's probably a lot easier to manage that. But anyway, that was just source jumping in there. Let's switch back to here. So the 3 stories that we should and shouldn't be telling ourselves. So there's you. And I don't know what color I have. We'll pick this one for fun. And this is your external world, right? Your external world, the world out there. I hit the wrong button. I need to get rid of the shine off of that. Okay. And so the first story that we tell, now this isn't entirely mechanically accurate because in the first story, we're not telling the story. So in the first one, our external circumstances are telling the story. So our external is telling the story. Right? Notice how it's going this way, right? Oops, Lord Almighty. There we go. Okay, so, all right, in this one, it's going this way. Why? Because the external is telling the story. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is a precarious one. Why? Because the external, as any of you that have been to our workshops in person, virtual, one of the characteristics of the external is that's the one aspect of our experience where we have no control. Right? We've all experienced it. I mean, the last year and however long, there have been things changing in our physical external circumstances that I have no control over. So in a very real way, what's happening is your external circumstances are telling your story, are telling your truth, are telling you who you are defining who you are, all that type of stuff, right? So it's our external that is telling the story. And again, I mean, if your external is rocking and rolling, then cool, right? But if it's not, this is where now you're kind of screwed, right? And there's a lot of people, probably the vast majority, that are in this storytelling mode where they're not the creator of their own story now. People, placing things and events in their external world are the creators. And that's, like I said, that's just a losing bet in so many ways. Okay. That's probably, I mean, and we're all there, right? We're all there. And none of these stories are bad. Right? And we move between these 3 stories so we don't kick ourselves in the head when we find ourselves stuck in one of these stories that don't serve us. We just understand it's a story that doesn't serve us and we can change it. Okay? So now the second story. Now, the second story is going this way. Okay? So this is the story that often 2 words that really key in on this. The first one is why, right? And this word. Okay? Why and logic. Now, this is where we spend a lot of our time. So, okay. And there's, that's that one. Okay. Oh, I see. Oh, interesting. So in this one here, the why, right? The why is this experience happening? All this kind of stuff. The why is actually determined, again, by the external. So the why certain events are happening and all this kind of stuff in your life, the why is told by your external, again, which is just a flat out losing bet. Okay. Now, the second one, of course, is going the other direction, which, I mean, changes everything. So now what you're doing in the second one is here's your external experience, it's doing all this stuff. And what you're doing is, and this is something that our mind is kind of wired to do, is our mind wants to make sense out of what's happening. Okay. So it wants to know the why. So it wants to tell a story about what's happening that makes sense. Now here's a real key word here. A story that makes sense, a story that is logical. Now, this is definitely a step up But the key word here is this one. Because when we're at this level, the story that we are telling comes from our existing logic. Or another way to look at it is within the parameters. Where is my geez? Let's try that again. Which is in the parameters of our existing belief systems, which may serve us. But again, especially now as we're growing and growing and growing, there's probably a lot that don't, or at least we've outgrown them. So it's the story that we tell to make sense of what's going on in our surroundings. Okay. Now, then there is, we'll do that. Get rid of that. There we go. Then there is the story that you choose to tell. So we're going to call it Your I Am story. So there's the story. Your external world is telling you about who you are, what's possible, what's impossible, all that kind of stuff. The why, right? Then there is the story that, and often this story will kind of automatically be told, but you're often involved in this on the inside, right? It's like trying to understand why this is happening, using our existing logic, using the parameters of our belief system. Okay. When we say something is logical or makes sense, what we're saying is the information, whatever that looks like, fits inside our existing belief system or our existing story. Right? But we're growing and expanding and evolving. So not all cases, but in a lot of cases, we want to change the story. And that's where this comes into play. And this is where now you are choosing what it means. But by definition, it doesn't fit in to your existing logic. So essentially now you're telling a new story. And this new story will often feel good. It can initially feel good. And then you have like this whiplash, right? It can feel really good. And then you have this whiplash. Why do you have the whiplash? Because you're telling a story different than the one that your belief systems are telling. So you have this, I like this story. And then the belief systems kick in and you go, ugh. So what's happening? Why do you feel that way? Because you're going from here to here. That's why. It's not because this story is true, which is kind of interesting. Because I can almost say by definition, this new story you're telling is probably not going to be supported by this one. Probably not at all. It'll probably be like the exact opposite. Often that new story that you're telling is over here. The new story you're telling is going 80 mile an hour north. That existing telling the storytelling from your external world, telling the story is going south. So they're going to be almost diametrically opposed, which is why that new story, that may seem illogical, insane, crazy, because it doesn't fit into here. That's the story you want to hone in on, because that's the new story. That's your new truth. You see, here, your external world is telling you what's true. Here, your existing logic or belief systems are telling you what story is true. But when you're here, you're telling what story that you choose to be true. You're the one now that is telling a different feeling story. And that's where creation is. Creation is not in succumbing to the stories that your external world tells you about who you are and what you can and can't do. Creation is not what is logical. Creation, by definition, initially sounds crazy. So if your good feeling story makes no logical sense when you look out here, makes no logical sense when you compare it to your existing belief systems, that's how you know you're on the right track. Actually, another way is if you tell that good feeling story and it feels really, really good, and then it seems like almost instantly there's in your existing belief system give you all these reasons why it's not possible, why it's nuts, and you feel that in here, right? Well, here's a kind of a really neat understanding. The reason you feel this is not because the logical stories are true. The reason you feel that is because they're not anymore. Because as you choose to tell, this is really good, as you choose to tell that good feeling story that makes no freaking sense, but feels good, and you hold that, against the onslaught of those existing truths that tell you you can't have it, you have to want what you have to want what you've been told you can have, all this stuff, less than enough, settling, all that stuff. When you persist in that good feeling story, and when the whiplash comes, you stand fast and you tell that good feeling story again. And it comes and you tell that good feeling story again. And it comes. I was going to do the show today on resiliency rather than rigidity. Rigidity is no. You're fighting against the existing truth. Resiliency is you don't fight against it. You stand in your new truth. And you say, that may have been who I was. And my evidence may show me that that's who I am. But I don't have to succumb to external evidence. I can choose to write, this is really good, a better feeling story. And as I persist in that, as I exhibit and manifest the resiliency of that good feeling story, that's when the magic happens. Now, why is it, okay, well, magic. Okay, what the heck, whatever, right? All right. Why do we say it's magic? Because when something doesn't make sense, that's when we call it magic. When something magically happens, we go, oh my God, a miracle, right? What's a miracle? The only reason a miracle is because it's aligning with this new story and not with this one. Right? When I'm done the show here and I get up and stand up, I'm not going to go, oh my God, it's a miracle. Why? Because my existing story is I can stand up. But I can remember a long time ago in the beginning with the low back injury. My story was when I stand up, it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be pain. It's all that kind of stuff. If I sat down that way and I stood up with no pain, you'd go, oh my God, what just happened? I had no pain. I had pain. Now I don't. It's a miracle. But it's only a miracle, and this is Greg Braden's when I first heard this from. It's only a miracle until you understand how it works, and it's a technology. In a very real way, this is a technology. You get to choose. Are you going to hang out here? Not that, again, it's good and bad, just precarious, and allow your external world to tell the story of who you are, what's possible for you, what's impossible for you. Are you going to use your existing logic to understand the why different things happen, to choose the stories that you tell to be logical, to be practical, to be possible, to be responsible, probably a whole bunch of other bulls? Or you choose to leap into insanity and tell a new feeling story that makes your heart sing? Now is the time to tell that story that makes your heart sing. Not one that makes sense. Not one that's built on the past. But one that's built on what makes your heart sing. And tell that story. And be resilient in telling that story. And when you fall down, get up again. And when all those competing voices in your head and even the circumstances out here tell you you're absolutely batshit crazy, you don't fight it. You don't argue it. You stand in that truth, which is one of the reasons why so much of our manifesting is done in secret. When you have those desires, especially these guys, right? Don't go telling people about them. Let them see it when it manifests. Keep those desires, keep that news story between you and, well, those of us that are as crazy as you are. And let the evidence speak for you. This was really good. I'll flip back to here just so you can kind of get another look at it. So there you are, the 3 stories. 1, 2, 3. Again, none of them are good or bad. Just understanding the mechanics of them and how to navigate between the 3 as it serves you. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Ask the Wizard Almost Daily. 777 Club, it keeps growing and growing and growing, adding more and more value. We're adding guided meditations now. They're pretty kick-ass, I gotta say. We'll be adding more things to it. The Zoom gatherings, of course, are one thing. The weekly video teaching modules are another. But we keep adding and adding and adding. That's where this new community is being built, and it's very powerful. And so if you want to check it out, go to healingcenter.ca, the profile on Facebook. So that's probably where you're watching this from. Scroll down, you'll see links to it and things like that. I think that is it. Thanks for tuning in. Share, share, share. We're all in this together. See you on the web. This has been the June 22nd episode of Ask the Wizard Almost Daily.